Stourdevant Hall at twilight, a hauntingly beautiful southern mansion cloaked in mystery, standing as a silent witness to forgotten sorrows. In the rolling hills of northern Alabama stands Stourdevant Hall, a grand, time-worn mansion steeped in mystery and whispered legends. Built in the early 1800s by a prosperous but enigmatic family, the imposing structure has long been the subject of local lore. Visitors and locals alike claim that eerie lights, unexplained sounds, and shadowy figures roam its corridors long after dusk falls. Its time-worn stone walls and creaking wooden floors seem to hold the memories of long-departed souls, and every gust of wind through its broken windows appears to murmur secrets of the past. The mansion's storied past. Stourdevant Hall was once the jewel of a thriving plantation, commissioned by the reclusive patriarch Ambrose Stourdevant. Rumors about Ambrose's troubled personal life and the mysterious circumstances surrounding his wife's sudden death have only fueled the legend. Over time, tragic events and unexplained happenings began to weave themselves into the mansion's narrative. Locals speak of the ghost of a forlorn woman, her sorrow etched into every corner of the estate, and of a presence that watches silently from the upper windows, as if guarding a secret too painful to share. Every stone, every arch, and every narrow corridor of the mansion tells its own tale. Some say that if one listens carefully on a quiet night, the sound of soft weeping can be heard echoing through the halls, a heart-wrenching reminder of a love lost too soon and a life marred by regret. The mansion's architecture, a mix of southern elegance and Gothic decay, contributes to the unsettling ambience. Intricate ironwork adorns the grand staircases, and sprawling porches shelter peeling, once vibrant murals that hint at happier times. A glimpse into Stourdevant Hall's opulent past, a vibrant gathering capturing southern elegance and hidden sorrow. 2. Shadows of the past. The history of Stourdevant Hall is as layered and complex as the peeling wallpaper that covers its aging walls. According to local records, the mansion was the setting for several untimely deaths, each more mysterious than the last. One particularly grim chapter in its history dates back to the late 19th century when a fire, seemingly started by unseen hands, consumed the east wing of the estate. Although the blaze was eventually contained, many believed that the fire was not a mere accident but an act of retribution for past sins. Over the decades, numerous attempts have been made to document the supernatural occurrences within the mansion. Letters recovered from the estate's archives describe moments when time seemed to warp, when a guest would step into a dimly lit room only to emerge hours later, their memory of what had transpired lost to the shadows. Even the local church records, kept by the town's longtime historian, mention the weeping widow and a phantom child that would wander the grounds during stormy nights. Such accounts have solidified the reputation of Stourdevant Hall as a nexus of paranormal activity, where the past and present coexist in uneasy harmony. Stourdevant Hall at its eerie best, a stormy night filled with decay, fog, and ghostly whispers. 3. The Call of the Unknown. Despite, or perhaps because of, its eerie reputation, Stourdevant Hall has drawn the attention of paranormal enthusiasts and seasoned investigators from across the country. Among them was Evelyn Carter, a determined historian with a penchant for unraveling mysteries. Evelyn had grown up hearing tales of the haunted mansion and, as she matured, her fascination with its dark past only deepened. Determined to separate myth from reality, she resolved to spend a night within the mansion's haunted halls, armed with little more than a notebook, a vintage camera, and an insatiable curiosity. Evelyn arrived at Stourdevant Hall on a crisp autumn evening, the kind of night when the wind seems to carry echoes of forgotten voices. The mansion loomed before her like a sleeping giant, its turrets and gables silhouetted against a bruised sky. As she stepped through the creaking iron gate, a shiver ran down her spine, a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Every footstep on the gravel driveway seemed to echo a warning, but the pull of history and mystery was too strong to resist. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of old wood and something indefinably melancholic. Dust motes danced in the shafts of moonlight that penetrated the broken windows. Evelyn's heart pounded as she made her way to the grand foyer, where portraits of the mansion's long-departed inhabitants gazed down in eternal silence. The atmosphere was charged, almost as if the very walls were aware of her presence, cataloging her intrusion into their timeless vigil. With each cautious step, Evelyn felt as though she were crossing a threshold, not just into a building, but into another realm where the past and the present blurred into one. Evelyn's midnight encounter. In the shadowy corridors of Stourdevant Hall, the past speaks through a spectral figure. IV. A night of unearthly encounters. As the night deepened, Stourdevant Hall began to reveal its true nature. In the dim glow of a single lantern, Evelyn explored room after room, each one more enigmatic than the last. The mansion's library, with its tall, dusty shelves and musty tomes, seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Here, she discovered an old diary, its pages brittle with age, recounting the tragic love affair between Ambrose and his ill-fated bride, a tale filled with passion, betrayal, and sorrow. But it was in the mansion's shadowy corridors that the most inexplicable events occurred. At the stroke of midnight, Evelyn heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing in the long, empty hallway. Heart pounding, she followed the sound, her senses straining to detect its source. The corridor was cloaked in darkness, its only illumination coming from the intermittent flash of lightning that illuminated the decaying grandeur of the mansion. As she advanced, the temperature seemed to drop drastically, and a thick fog began to roll in from an unseen source. Then, in a moment that felt both surreal and profoundly real, she saw it, a figure standing at the far end of the hall. The apparition was faint at first, a mere suggestion of a person draped in old-fashioned attire. As Evelyn's eyes adjusted, the figure took on a more defined shape, a woman with sorrowful eyes and an expression of unbearable loss. The spectral figure raised a trembling hand, as if beckoning Evelyn to follow her deeper into the labyrinth of the mansion. Evelyn's mind raced with questions, but before she could call out, the figure vanished into thin air. The silence that followed was oppressive, and Evelyn felt an inexplicable compulsion to uncover the truth behind this haunting presence. Clutching the diary to her chest, she resolved to piece together the tragic tale of the mansion's past, certain that understanding the sorrow of the specter might finally lay her restless spirit to rest. The unraveling of secrets. The following day brought a brief respite from the night's terrors. In the soft light of early morning, Evelyn pored over the diary, piecing together the fragments of a love story turned tragedy. The diary detailed the forbidden romance between Ambrose Stourdevant and a local woman of humble origins, whose passion was doomed from the start by societal pressures and the weight of ancestral expectations. Their love, intense and all-consuming, was marred by deceit and heartache, a struggle against the relentless currents of fate that eventually culminated in her mysterious disappearance. Local legend held that her spirit could not rest because of the injustice she suffered in life. As the diary recounted her final days, a pattern emerged. Her sorrow and the injustice of her fate had imprinted themselves upon the very stones of Stourdevant Hall. It was as if the mansion had become a monument not just to its illustrious past, but also to the lingering anguish of a love betrayed. This revelation only deepened Evelyn's determination. She now believed that uncovering the truth behind her untimely death might be the key to pacifying the restless spirit that still haunted the estate. That afternoon, Evelyn visited the town's historical society, where weathered documents and faded photographs painted a vivid picture of the mansion's heyday. The records were incomplete and often contradictory, yet they all pointed to one undeniable truth: beneath the grandeur and decay lay a story of passion, betrayal, and an enduring sorrow that had imprinted itself upon the very soul of Stourdevant Hall. Every dusty record, every brittle letter was a clue, and with each new piece of evidence, the spectral figure from the night before loomed larger in her thoughts. A moment of redemption. At dawn, Evelyn connects with a gentle spirit, bringing solace to the haunted halls. The final confrontation. As dusk fell once more over the old mansion, Evelyn returned to Stourdevant Hall for what she felt would be the final confrontation with the unknown. With the diary and a collection of historical documents clutched in her arms, she walked the familiar path back to the estate, her resolve hardened by the revelations of the previous day. The sky was a tapestry of purples and grays, and the chill in the air was a reminder that the night was not merely a time for rest, it was a time when the mansion's secrets would once again stir. Inside, the hallways were eerily silent. Yet, every creak and whisper of the wind seemed laden with meaning. Determined, Evelyn made her way to the very corridor where she had encountered the spectral woman. Standing alone in the darkness, she called out softly, her voice trembling but resolute, "I know your story. I know what happened. I'm here to help you find peace." Her words, simple and sincere, seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the mansion. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, as if in response, a gentle glow began to emanate from the far end of the hall. Slowly, the ghostly figure reappeared, more vivid and sorrowful than before. This time, her eyes held a glimmer of hope mixed with deep despair. She moved with a quiet grace, her form blurring the line between the tangible and the ethereal. Evelyn felt no fear, only a profound empathy that transcended the barrier between life and death. In that charged moment, the mansion itself seemed to exhale a long-held secret. The spectral figure extended her hand, and as their fingers nearly touched, visions flooded Evelyn's mind, glimpses of the past, of forbidden love and bitter betrayal, and of a promise left unfulfilled. The overwhelming cascade of memories and emotions was almost too much to bear, yet it provided the clarity she needed. She realized that the only way to free the tormented spirit was to acknowledge the pain and injustice of her past, to let her story be told and her memory honored. With trembling hands, Evelyn promised to share her story with the world, to let the truth of the love and loss that had scarred Stourdevant Hall be known. The spectral figure seemed to smile, a silent thank you passing between them, before slowly fading into the shadows from which she had come. In that quiet, sacred silence, the mansion's oppressive chill began to lift, as if the long years of sorrow were finally given a chance to mend. 7. Epilogue. The Legacy of Stourdevant Hall. In the weeks that followed, Evelyn dedicated herself to chronicling every detail of the mansion's storied past. Her articles, replete with first-hand accounts and historical documents, sparked a renewed interest in the legacy of Stourdevant Hall. Scholars, ghost enthusiasts, and even skeptical locals came together to explore the mansion's history and honor the memory of the lost soul whose presence had defined it for so long. The renewed attention brought both hope and a sense of closure to those who had long believed that the mansion was cursed. Over time, Stourdevant Hall began to transform from a place of terror into a somber memorial, an architectural canvas upon which the deep scars of history were not hidden but acknowledged and healed. The mansion still retained its spectral charm. Visitors still reported a lingering sensation of being watched and gentle whispers in the dark, yet these were now seen as echoes of a tragic past rather than ominous portents of doom. Evelyn's journey had changed her as well. No longer just a curious investigator, she had become the chronicler of a story that stretched far beyond the realms of the living and the dead. The mansion, with its creaking floors and fading portraits, had taught her that some stories, no matter how haunted, deserved to be told. By embracing the sorrow and the beauty intermingled within its walls, she had helped to release a spirit long trapped by grief. To this day, those who wander the grounds of Stourdevant Hall speak of a gentle presence, a guardian of memories, who watches over the estate with quiet understanding. And in the quiet corners of the mansion, if one listens carefully, the soft strains of a lullaby can be heard, a timeless melody that reminds all who hear it that even in the deepest darkness, there is a glimmer of light, a promise of peace. Evelyn's account, published in a small but widely read journal of paranormal history, stands as a testament to the mansion's enduring legacy. It is a story of love, loss, and the unyielding power of truth, a reminder that sometimes, the past is not something to be feared but embraced, for in doing so, we find the strength to heal even the most haunted of hearts. And so, the legend of Stourdevant Hall lives on, a tale whispered on cool autumn nights, echoing through the corridors of time, where every stone, every shadow, and every sigh of the wind carries the memory of a ghost who, at long last, was finally heard.